Bismillah, alhamdulillah, assalamu alaikum, peace be upon all of you. So, one of the most important areas to have consistency with your kids in is with rules, expectations, and consequences. Now, rules and expectations, they draw boundaries for kids that they need. Rules maybe draw clearer lines between right and wrong and things that you absolutely can and cannot do. Expectations might be more general things relating to values and how you want the kids to be. And then consequences are the enforcement mechanism behind these things. And kids need to experience consequences when they cross boundaries that you don't want them to cross. However, being consistent, both in the delivery of rules and expectations, and especially with meting out consequences to kids when lines and boundaries are crossed, being consistent with these things is a huge difference maker between actually teaching kids and actually nurturing positive habit formation versus just telling kids things. It's consistency with these things, because it's 100% an area where actions speak louder than words, because you can tell kids rules all you want, but if you don't actually make predictable consequences come to them when they break the rules that you set, for all intents and purposes, what you're actually communicating is that those rules and expectations don't really matter and they don't have any real world implication. And kids naturally want to know where those boundaries are, and they communicate that want and they practice that learning out by trying to test the boundaries in many different ways. It can manifest differently in different kids at different ages, but no doubt they will test the boundaries in certain ways at certain times. And consistency with them is the difference between actually teaching them and just telling them. So, reasons why parents and or teachers fail to be consistent with this, common reasons. One is they haven't really thought the rules and expectations through very well. This can especially happen, one is just not thinking it through and not reflecting enough. It can especially happen when you're raising children with another person, a spouse or a partner, and the two of you haven't collaborated on enough, and you don't have regular times where you reflect on it, and think it through and make a collaborative decision over what you want the rules and expectations to be and how they should be articulated. That can happen in the school building too, amongst staff. That's a key thing that administrators do in a school is they try to align staff with rules and expectations. And this is the same too if you are raising a kid with someone who you're not with. You still have to make an effort to collaborate with that person and keep expectations and rules consistent for the kids. That's what's going to be best for them. And I know it's difficult for people, but it's something you have to try to do. If you have a custody situation where one person has much more custody than the other, the person with less custody might have to subordinate themselves a little bit to the expectations and rules set by the other person, because that is what the kids are going to get more often. Another reason why people fail to be consistent with this is they will give rules and expectations where they can't actually deliver the consequence. So that's a key thing with setting rules and expectations for kids. You can't give the kids a rule or expectation if you are unable to deliver the consequence when they test it or when they break it, because that's going to teach them that that rule and expectation doesn't actually exist in reality. And that therefore will tell them that your authority as a parent or as a teacher, it's not actually real. It's just something you say. It's not something that has any real world consequence. Another big reason why people aren't consistent with rules and expectations and consequences is just reacting emotionally. When kids do break things, or they don't meet expectations. And that goes back to what I've talked about in earlier videos of making sure that you have a calm disposition, that you know how to regulate your own breathing and thinking so that in the moment you don't just react emotionally and you're able to give yourself the time to think through the proper things to say.